But the worst culprit was the radio-controlled boat.
The boat did originally go astray because unfortunately it was run on the same frequency that the local fire brigade had. So consequently, every time a fire engine went anywhere near the theatre, the boat would then take it into its own head to go off in a different direction.
As we came round the corner, the audience applauded. It was a magnificent sight, and the smoke is everywhere, the candles come up out the ground. I mean, the audience went crazy. And we go straight off the other side, and we're gone. And you can't move it, you've got to wait for this man to bring us back on again. So we came back on again, backwards. And you have to look as though you're in control with the pole, but I mean, you're absolutely doing nothing with this pole. But I knew what I wanted to do with the pole, but I can't.
And we'd be sitting in the boat, sing once again with me, and I'm thinking, the boat isn't moving, what do we do? Oh, we'll get out and we'll paddle. And then the nights when the boat would carry on going on stage, and we'd be halfway over the orchestra pit, and we'd both be sort of edging towards the back of the boat, counterbalancing it, and then thinking, how do we get off? Because if we get off, and he'd be saying, don't get off, don't get off.
I got out the boat, picked Christine up and put her down, and then dragged this boat into position. For the first time, I go to the organ and I start Music of the Night. And by the time I get there, it's 2.5 tons worth. And I'm going, nighttime sharpens, heightens each, because you can't breathe. I'd lost all my breath.
It was so ridiculous, all these things that everybody thought were so wonderful and magical and all likely to go completely tits up at any second, you know.
But the biggest shock was the man known as Frank Spencer.
Say you'll share with me one love, one lifetime.
My heart was saying to me, he can't do this, he doesn't do this, he's Betty.
Save me from my solitude.
And then he sang, and I thought, he's got a good voice.
Of course, a lot of us went to sit and see if Michael could sing. And we were shocked. He was damn good.
I just remember the audience reaction to the show. It was astonishing. It was just astonishing.
Emotions are coming back. The whole theater just got up and screamed. It's impossible to explain it. The feeling, you know, your heart was thumping like anything.
Then the reviews started to come in the next morning. I've never heard anything like it. I spent more time in tears that day. After all the years you've been acting, that you were reading such things about a show that you were in was the most thrilling morning of my life.
Despite the odd detractor, the show many thought would never happen hit bullseye.
The interesting thing I think about Phantom is that with the exception of Masquerade, that we did do a bit of work on in the rehearsal rooms, the rest of the show wasn't altered at all. And it's the only musical I've been involved with where the first preview of the musical was exactly the same as the opening night.
Tickets for the show are so hard to get that there have been incidents at this theater that resemble the kinds of scrambles you see at rock concerts.
I remember going in on a Sunday and finding people sleeping on that return line for the next night's performance in sleeping bags and chairs and with mugs of coffee and thermoses and stuff. And I thought it was quite extraordinary.
It cleaned up in a sense. It reached all sorts of audiences now. The rock pop kind of audience was now supplemented by Middle England, was suddenly really fantastically turned on by this story.
Phantom was still packing them in when its star was hit by a throat infection so serious that he had to spend 2 weeks in hospital. Steve Barton, who had been playing the suitor Raoul, stepped into the Phantom's shoes before an accident with the trapdoor sent him to the sickbay as well. With the understudy's understudy now playing the role, the producers counted the days until Crawford could rise from his sickbed.
The doctor came in the next day and said, "How are you feeling, Michael?" I said, and of course I've got Valium because they're trying to tie me down to stay in the nursing home, this hospital, I mean. And I say I'm fine. I'm really good. He said, well, I said, what are you doing here? Because I thought I was under a specialist by now. And he said, well, actually, Steve had an accident last night and they were wondering whether you could. I said, I'll be there. And I got out of bed and just got 2 cups of coffee down me and staggered back, parked around the corner in a square, and the doctor walked me along the street, and I was like this, and I went past 2 ladies at the stage door, said, "Oh my God, that was Michael Crawford. I think he was drunk."
After sellout success in London, New York beckoned. On the 26th of January 1988, it was the Big Apple's turn to be gripped by Phantomania. Sarah and Crawford reprised their roles, but she nearly lost the job after a long-running row with the American Actors Union, who said she wasn't a big enough star.
I thought she was marvelous, and she did a great job here, and she got as just a big an ovation as Michael did.
But it didn't matter what the critics said. Phantom was critic-proof.
I thought it was outstanding. I was moved to tears at times.
I think the whole thing was stupendous. It was the most fantastic thing I've ever seen.
In your whole life?
Yes, yes.
And Crawford was the Broadway sensation.
Michael Crawford, the Phantom, remains modest about his status as Broadway's newest superstar.
I don't look at life that way. I don't think of it. I mean, as you can see from my dressing gown, I don't consider myself to be a major star.
One night, as I walked across to Christine, a mobile phone went off. And they were quite rare then. And this woman answered the phone. She's in the front row and she answers the phone. And I'm very hard to remember lines. I mean, I have to concentrate so hard. And I'm going 9 times. Hello? Yes, I'm here. He's singing right now. Listen to this. I heard this. And then she points the phone up at the stage.
My knees are gone, let's put it that way.
Suddenly, the actor once known as the hapless Frank Spencer became an unlikely sex symbol.
Should I get a kiss on the cheek?
Sexy. Sexy. Michael Crawford is just a sexy man. And I love it. Whenever he is on stage, the audience roar. He was just a sexy man.
We had one lady bless her, and she would come in costume occasionally and always sit in the same seat if she possibly could, and wear different coloured contact lenses because she felt that had an effect on Michael's performance, and who's to say it didn't?
I think it was the character. Why? Sorry, Michael, I think it was the character.
Michael Crawford.
Crawford has gone on to have a top-flight cabaret and concert career.
Phantom completely changed my life. It was the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me.
The power of the music
I knew the richness of it. It wasn't something that you just took for granted and you look back on and say, oh, those were the days. I knew they were the days when I was doing it.